wives could be seen storing up a later reprimand for an errant spouse, who, having imbibed more punch than was wise, took to exhibiting an excess of familiarity. One who was certainly in for a later roasting, and this had nothing to do with manhandling women, was the Reverend Dr. Joshua Moyle, who had probably been at the bottle before he arrived. The vicar of Cottington, a man hard to find sober, sought to hide his broken-veined cheeks with thick whiskers, which left his cratered nose and rheumy eyes ever watering as the most prominent features. His wife took less pleasure in his antics than the rest of the guests, as he sought to line up and plant an arrow on the bull, his aim obviously unsteady merely from the fact he struggled to avoid a slight stagger as he released his projectile. As a result, it thudded into a neighbouring target, not his own. The gales of laughter this produced was not taken as an affront. Indeed, Moyle turned to those watching and bowed. "Does not the sound of laughter cheer you, Henry?" Betsey asked, as she dipped a cup into the huge silver bowl before handing it to her brother. "Of course, Elizabeth. Most certainly." The reply, given after a mere sip of the brew, failed to satisfy. Betsey felt slightly frustrated, for despite her best efforts to place her brother within the orbit of the unwed females present, he had yet to fully engage any of them in a meaningful conversation. Her quip when pushing him into this event, which had not been easy in itself, that a chateau required a chatelaine, had engendered a response which, while politely delivered, told her to mind her own business. We can always rely on our good vicar for amusement, if not example. Betsey questioned the word good, and as for example, Moyle to her was a bad one, the only saving grace she could recall, his ability to deliver ferocious sermons promising hell and damnation for sins numerous, in many of which he was himself a transgressor. The living he occupied was in the gift of the Tulkington family, in reality her elder brother, and she could never fathom why such an endemic soak was tolerated. Comment on that was also not taken well. Henry had always been hard for her to connect with. A 12-year difference in age, added to a birth that had taken from them their mother, was only one factor to affect their relationship. He'd been sent away to a school noted for its hard discipline. She had been tutored at home by a benign governess, as well as fussed over by servants. In attitudes they were chalk and cheese. Betsey, with her optimistic nature and love of the outdoors, contrasted with her brother's addiction to business, aversion to fresh air, or outdoor pursuits, and what she called his hypochondria. If he was genuinely ill, she could and would show sincere sympathy, but most of his supposed ailments were the product of his imagination. Often these were prompted by things he had read of in avidly consumed medical tomes. If they'd quarrelled in the years gone by, it had arisen from his controlling nature, as well as an absence of anything approaching gaiety. With their father also gone by the time she grew to maturity, he had been the head of the household and so sought to act in loco parentis to assist her in tending marriage, one who was having none of it. That, however, was all in the past. She was determined, home again and older, that things between them would be different. "Will you aid me in the butts?" "I reckon your aim would be best without it, Elizabeth. It's not a sport at which I have any skill. If indeed a thing of that nature exists, I would make Moyle look like Robin of the Hood." "Well, I have none at all with the bow," Betsey insisted. "You know you're the only person I can ask." That remark seemed to please her brother, though the twitch of his lips quickly disappeared. She thought to mention it, only to conclude a misreading of the expression. Her situation did not permit for even the most restrained of the male guests to hold her elbow, place a second hand around her waist, and whisper closely in her ear to tell her when to release the bowstring. Skittles she could play, as long as no excessive exuberance was demonstrated if all the pins tumbled. Likewise, success in the other entertainments, perhaps.